Hello, welcome to my channel, Lifestyle with Sharon. Today I'm just going to do a little talk on self-care. Self-care, people think it's just a case of putting a few creams on your face, doing your nails, and that's self-care. But there's so much more to self-care. There's the emotional self-care, there's the psychological self-care, there's the physical self-care. So today I'm going to talk about all different types of self-care that you can do. So the obvious one, the physical ones, are putting cream on your face, putting your moisturiser on your body when you come out the shower, and being mindful of when you're doing this, what that feels like, how nice your skin feels, the smell of whatever it is that you're using, the products, and just be in that moment and forget about the housework, forget about the kids, forget about everybody else. Just be there for you, and that's mindfulness, being in the moment and just being with yourself. There's always plenty to do, always rushing around to be done, but just take time out in the day for you. Bit of me time. It's not selfish, it's self-care. And we need that to recuperate, to re-energise ourselves. Otherwise we keep going and we keep going, and then we run out of energy and we crash. So we need to do some self-care. You know, it's about keeping that balance. Keeping busy is one thing, but you need to stop every now and then. And the other extreme, then keeping busy all the time, is doing nothing. And that's not good for you either, if you just sit there in front of the telly all day long and not do anything. So you need to try and find that balance. So the emotional side is very important to take time out, do a bit of journaling, think about how you're feeling. Because sometimes we're so busy looking after everybody else, asking how they're feeling. Do we ever take time out for ourselves and say, how am I feeling today? And the psychological part is to educate yourself around emotional intelligence. Educate yourself around what's good for your mental well-being. You know, do meditations, breathing exercises. It's all important. The whole of ourself, our spiritual needs. Whether you're religious or not, it doesn't matter. We need spiritual well-being too. We need to feel a whole. So I'm actually going to read out a list that I did, and I might talk about a few of these things. Now, you could, as I said, do a facial. You could soak your feet. You can read. And people have this thing that you can only read at night time, and they'd feel guilty if they just sat down in the middle of the day and read a book. But there's nothing wrong with it. So reading is good, and it's educating yourself. So I don't know what this mindset is that it would be bad to sit down and read a book during the day. You could do it at any time, not just bedtime. Dance. Now you can either go to a dance class or just dance around the house. Put the music on and just dance. There's something about music that just makes us feel good. And if you're dancing around, feeling like an idiot, maybe looking like an idiot if somebody came in and caught you, but it brings a smile to your face and it gives you those happy hormones that you need. So dancing is great. Everybody loves dancing. Whether they can do it or not is a different matter. But dancing is fun. Singing. There's something in singing. I've had moments where I've felt a bit down, and then I've put some music on YouTube and I've just sung along. Or I've even done the karaoke on the YouTube and just started singing, and it's cheered me up. Listening to the songs and the music and singing really helps. I find anyway. You can let me know in the comments if you like singing and dancing and music. So even just listening to music, and that just makes you feel good, but also you can use that as a form of meditation. If you like music, if you like ballads, if you like music that has words, you can zone out and listen to the words carefully, and that's a type of meditation. So you can't be thinking about the housework that you got to do, or the bills that you have to pay, or the work load that you can't seem to catch up on. Instead of thinking about all those kind of things, you can just listen to the words and really absorb what's happening in the music. You can sit in the garden, just sit, have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, glass of water, and just sit and look at the nature. Look what's around you. Look at your flowers that you might have in your garden. Just to sit for a few minutes of the day, that's self-care. You can go for a swim, the gym, go for a walk, do something more energetic. So as I said earlier about balance, doing physical exercise is great, but also to sit down and do nothing is good too. So have a balance of both. Have a nice soak in the bath. That's one of my favourites. Put some candles around the bath. Be careful, of course, not to have any plastic nearby when you're putting the candles, so it's safe. And just put some bubbles in the bath and just relax and have that soak. Sometimes I read in the bath. Or I can just lie back and just close my eyes and just enjoy being in the water. Sometimes I like to do yoga or Pilates. I find that extremely helpful. That's good for your body, your soul, your mind, the whole lot. And it's a great way of relaxing and stretching, and it's just really good as a whole. Go to an exercise class, go to a Zumba class. You know, there's a whole load of different things you can do. Counselling is very important, or psychotherapy. Go and talk to someone. I think all of us have a need to talk to someone professional to be able to just listen to us and not judge us, and that we can let out our darkest secrets, our things that we're shameful of, things that may have happened to us, or even just things on a weekly basis, to just talk, even good things. It doesn't have to be all bad. You can go to a counsellor and share your good experiences, your goals, your aspirations. And then if you have a difficult week, you can talk about that too. It's good even once a month to go to a counsellor, just to keep in touch, to know that your mental health and your emotional health is being looked after. And as a result of the emotional and the psychological part being looked after, your physical side will be looked after as well, because it's all intertwined. If we don't have good psychological and emotional health, it will have an impact on our physical health. We may have trouble with our bowels. IBS is a classic example that you can have if you're having a lot of stress. So it's great to go to counselling. There's support groups out there. If you're struggling with something in particular, you could have a disability, you could have codependency issues, you could have addiction issues. You know, these support groups are grief. You know, you can really get some help around sharing and listening to others in these support groups. They're really good. You have women's or men's shed. I know they do here in Ireland. I don't know if they have that anywhere else. But these men's sheds are a place where men can go and congregate together, and they might do a bit of woodwork. They might do other bits and pieces. They might go out for the day here and there. The women's shed as well, they get together. Some might do woodwork. They might do arts and crafts. They might do all sorts of things. They might do personal development course. They might do cooking. They do all sorts of things. And again, days out. So they're a great way of making friends. If you haven't got any friends, or you don't have many friends and you'd like to meet people, it's a great way of meeting people. Art, that getting in touch with your creative sides. We don't have to do that just because when we're children. We can do that as adults. Just sit down with a pen and paper and draw, or a pencil and paper and draw. Get some crayons, get a colouring book. You know, just get in touch with that inner child, that bit of fun, and be creative. Do some painting, go to an art class. You know, hobbies and interests are very important. It's very important, at least once a week, go out and do something. Go to a class, you know, do a hobby. Go and go swimming, go and play some bowls, go to the dance class. I don't know, take yourself out of your comfort zone and do something a bit different. So hobbies are very important. Another way of sitting down but doing something at the same time is doing some sewing, knitting, crocheting, macrame, any kind of creative thing that you can find relaxing. It's not for everybody. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. But sewing, knitting and crochet is another way of doing self-care. As I said earlier already, woodwork. And, you know, it doesn't matter. You can try and figure out and do some woodwork at home and just give it a go. You could look at a YouTube channel and see how you make something from wood, or you can go to a class. Have lunch and dinner out with friends. That's really important. Or, just even have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just go out and socialise and chat. Or you can go for a walk in the park or walk in the woods with your friends. Just meet up with people. It's very important that we connect with others and don't isolate. It's important to have some isolation time, but some social interaction. Again, that balance. Writing. Personally, I love writing. Some people might not like writing, but I find writing is a great way of expressing yourself. You can do writing as in making up stories, writing a poem, or in the form of journaling, and to get what's in your head out onto paper. Meditation and mindfulness I've already mentioned. There's all types of meditations. You can get guided meditation so that you're listening to a voice, because some people don't like silence. You can meditate by listening to the music and listening to the words. You could maybe go into YouTube and maybe listen to a bit of poetry. That's a form of meditation. You can meditate in silence and listen to your breath and concentrate on just being silent. That's not for everybody. You can go outside and meditate. You can meditate in your house. You can meditate absolutely anywhere. You can always find a few minutes to meditate. Personally, I think it's important to do meditation daily, or at least 2 or 3 times a week, because it really does help calm the body, calm the mind. The other thing people don't think of is to go to the doctors and have an annual checkup, a bit like an NCT or MOT, depending on where you live, what you call it. They call it NCT in Ireland and they call it MOT in England. So, to get that annual checkup, get your bloods done, and just speak to the doctor and see how you're doing. Prevention is better than cure. So at least if something does come up on your bloods, say if your sugar level is too high, you can catch that early and prevent diabetes. Whereas you could end up being ill and then going to the doctors, and then you've had diabetes for several years, and by then you've got issues with your feet and heart problems and other stuff. So it's better to prevent it by going to the doctor and have a regular checkup. So that's self-care. Let go of the self-criticism. There's so many of us that criticize our own self. We criticize our decision making. We can criticize the way we look. We can criticize what we wear. We can criticize our ability in our job. We can say we're not doing a very good job here. We can criticize the way we've cooked our dinner. Everything is very negative when we're criticizing ourselves all the time. We wouldn't necessarily do that to other people, but somehow some of us seem to find it's a habit and that it's normal that we actually criticize ourselves. So be mindful of what your thoughts are around your own self. And if you catch yourself being critical, maybe change that. All right, so another one, a psychological self-care, is to be able to forgive yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does things wrong. If we could turn the clock back and redo something, wouldn't we love to be able to do it? I know I've got many things I'd love to redo in my life and I can't. And if we've made bad decisions, we've done the wrong things, as long as we're trying to grow as a person and we're trying to do the right things and make amends for our wrongdoings, we need to forgive ourselves. Otherwise, we're just putting ourselves down and giving ourselves an internal message that we are no good as a person. We need to be able to forgive ourselves. And that is one of the hardest things to do. It's easier to forgive somebody else than what it is to forgive ourselves. And if you know that in your heart that you're a good person, but you did the wrong things and you're making up for it now, forgive yourself. Maybe light a candle and actually say it. I forgive myself, as well as forgiving others. Lighting a candle when you're forgiving is, I don't know, it just seems to mean more, I think anyway. So lighting a candle saying, I forgive myself and I forgive those who've hurt me. And I've forgiven those who've hurt loved ones of mine. It helps, I think, and that's a form of self-care. Eat well. It's very important to eat well. It's okay again, to have that balance. It's okay to have something that's not so good for us, as long as we're not doing that every day, eating a load of rubbish and eating lots of sugar and lots of fatty things. Have a nice balance, have your vegetables, have your protein, have your good high carbohydrates, but then sometimes have some bad carbohydrates and have a bit of dessert, a bit of sweetness. It's okay. It's all about that balance. You don't need to deprive yourself, and you don't have to be obsessive about eating healthy. It is balance, but overall eat healthy with an occasional indulgence. Sleep enough. It's very important that we have a sleep, good solid sleep, and the meditation would help with that. If you get into a habit of listening to some guided meditation that'll help you relax and get into a deep sleep, that's going to help you have a really profound effect on your well-being. That is really good self-care, knowing that you've had a good night's sleep. And if you haven't had a good night's sleep for whatever reason, talk to someone. If you're finding yourself regularly not being able to sleep, there must be a reason for that. Sometimes it could be the menopause, and if that's the case, have a nap during the day and not feel guilty for doing it. Listen to your body and give what your body needs, and make sure you have enough sleep. Some people can survive on 5-6 hours. If they're having a good sleep and that's all they need, that's fine. Some people might need 7 or 8 hours. Some people might need 9 hours. It all depends on us as individual people, and we need to listen to our body. But either way, we need to make sure we have enough sleep. Just pause and take a break. It's very easy, even at work, when we've got so much to do and we're exhausted and we're running on empty and we keep running on our adrenaline to keep going and keep going. But it's not good for us. So self-care is, no matter how busy you are, take time out, have a break, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then you'll feel you've got more energy once you've had that break, and you can actually be more productive and get more done. So taking regular breaks, especially if you're doing studying, if you're doing education, if you're doing a degree, you're going to college or you're going to school, you need to have regular breaks. If you're doing an essay, a 2,000 word essay, you can't just keep going. Your brain is going to just burn out and your body's going to burn out. So maybe do an hour's work and set your alarm, take a break for 10 minutes, then go back to do another hour and then take a break, another 10 minutes, and so on. You need to have regular breaks. And your brain will work better because you've had that break. Have a cup of tea, have something to eat, and just breathe and meditate for a few minutes and go back into it again. Affirmations, they're really good. If you are one of these people that's very critical and you don't have self-belief, you don't have self-worth, give yourself some affirmations. So for an example, if you feel that you're not clever enough, you can look in the mirror every day and say, I am clever. Now you won't believe it at first. You have to keep saying it for at least 21 days. And then eventually you'll be setting new neural pathways in your brain. And then your brain will actually believe the messages that you're giving it. And that is, I am clever enough. You can, if you don't feel like you're pretty enough or you're good looking enough, you could say an affirmation of, I am enough. I'm good looking. I am pretty. Whatever it is, the opposite of what you believe. If you think you're a bad person and that you're not good enough, tell yourself, I am good enough. I am a good person. I love myself, or I like myself. And say these affirmations daily to remind yourself that you're actually a good person. Reach out when you're struggling. A lot of us, we feel embarrassed. We feel shameful that we're not coping very well, that we're struggling, and that it's a bad thing if we're crying, especially as men. It takes strength to actually reach out to somebody and say, I'm struggling, I need some help. So do try and make the effort of reaching out and talking to somebody, either a friend, Samaritans, counsellor, whatever it is that you need, or a support group of some sort, but reach out when you're struggling. Share your feelings and your needs. Don't keep them to yourself. You know, if you have friends, don't be scared to say how you're feeling and what your needs are. If you want to share something and you don't want the other person to give advice, then you need to say that. You need to say, I'm upset about something. I just want to talk about it. I just want you to listen. I don't want you to give me advice. Then that other person knows what to expect. They know what you want. They're not going to necessarily look at it as a bad thing. They'll be glad that you told them, because then they know how to react. Aim to be good enough, not perfect. Nobody is perfect, whatever perfect means. You know, and to put that upon ourselves, that we have to be perfect at everything, is putting so much pressure. And that's not realistic, and it's not healthy for our emotional and our mental well-being. So aim to just be good enough. And that will help if you're doing the affirmations and looking in the mirror every day. I am good enough. You know, if you're doing a new course, you're learning something new, and you don't get to do it brilliantly, that's okay. It's good enough. You're trying, you're making an effort, and you're learning. You're not going to be perfect straight away when you're learning something. Think of when you're going for a drive. You're not going to just suddenly get in the driver's seat and be perfect at driving. It takes time, it takes practice. And it's good enough the fact that you've sat in the car, sat in front of the steering wheel, turned the engine on, and you're willing to learn how to drive. That's enough. You can only ever do your best and try, and that's always good enough. Stop saying, I should be better at this. I should be doing this. That's very derogative. You're putting yourself down. Oh, I should be going out for more walks. Maybe rephrase it and say, I could be going for walks. And then you're more likely to say, okay, I could go for walks, but what's stopping me? And then you can maybe talk to yourself and ask and discover why you're not going for these walks. And then what can you do to actually make that happen? You know, how can you maybe set a SMART goal to actually achieve going for these walks? You can set a goal for every Monday morning, 10 o'clock, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. That's much better than saying, oh, I should be going out for a walk. And then you feel bad that you don't go for the walk. Whereas if you say, I could go for a walk and I could go out on Monday at 10 o'clock for 10 minutes, that's much more empowering. And you'll feel so much better by saying that rather than, I should be going out for a walk. Appreciate yourself. You know, don't wait for validation for other people to say, oh, you're doing a really good job, or I appreciate you. Appreciate your own self. Appreciate the fact that you try your best. Appreciate the fact that you do your self-care. Appreciate that you're there caring for other people. Appreciate the fact that you do a really good job at work, that you turn up for work and you do whatever it is that needs to be done. Appreciate the fact that you get up in the morning and it might be difficult, but you do it anyway because you want to be motivated, and you're maybe fighting depression, and you make yourself get up and you get on with your day. Appreciate the fact that you do that. Appreciate whatever it is for you. We're all different as individuals, but appreciate yourself just like you would appreciate others. Let go of others' expectations. That's a really important one, because we can put pressure on ourselves. If we are being expected to do a particular thing a particular way, let go of that and do it the way you need to do it. Say, for instance, somebody's expectations is that you need to be going out to work, and then you need to come home and you need to do the dinner, you need to do all the housework, you need to make phone calls, you need to do emails, you need to do all these things, and somebody's expecting you to do all them without a break, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. Don't. Stop. You do what you need to do. If you need to go to work and then come home and have a rest, you do that. And then do your housework or your dinner or whatever it is. And if people is expecting you to be the only one doing the dinner in the house, you don't have to. Let go of that expectation. Make dinner 4 days of the week and ask somebody else to take a turn and do the dinner. If somebody's expecting you to get 10 out of 10 in your exam, let go of their expectations. That's theirs. You just do your best and try your hardest. You might be able to think of other examples of letting go of others' expectations, and you can put it in the comments. Practice having boundaries and keeping boundaries, because boundaries we think we have sometimes, and we can say something and we say, I don't want to do that certain thing. I don't want to give you a lift. But then what happens? 10 minutes later, the person has persuaded you, and then you've gone and done it. And you've gave that person a lift when you're absolutely exhausted. You've had a busy day at work, stressful day at work. You just want to relax. But you go and do what the other person wanted, and they don't even need it for a good reason. But you are putting their needs before your own, and you don't have the boundaries because your actions are said different to your words. That's not a boundary. So your boundary would be your actions need to match your words. So if you say no to that lift to somebody, then you need to follow through and don't give the lift. If you say no and then 10 minutes later you've changed your mind, that's not a boundary. That's a very weak boundary, because that person knows that if you say no, it doesn't mean anything, because you're just going to do it anyway and give in. So boundaries is making a decision, making up your mind, I'm going to say no, and follow through with that. That's a boundary. And practice saying no. A lot of us struggle with saying no because we feel guilty. We're people pleasing. We don't like to say no to people. And it's very important for us to be able to say no, because otherwise we're going to just run ourselves into the ground, run after everybody else. You know, there's a saying out there, if you ever need something done, ask a busy person. So in other words, that busy person is always saying yes to people, and they're always busy for others, and they're always on the go. They never stop because they're always saying yes to everybody. So say no sometimes. Of course, say yes sometimes, but again, balance. Sometimes it's okay to say no. Have self-compassion. You know, we have compassion for other people, but it's not as easy to have compassion for ourselves. So if we made a mistake, if we messed up at work, if we messed up at home and we made a mistake, we didn't get something perfect, it's okay. We're human. We make mistakes. Have some compassion for ourselves. You know, if we forget to do something and it was important, don't beat yourself up around it. Apologise to the person and say, I'm really sorry, I forgot about it. And have some self-compassion for yourself. So I've just got a few more here. I know there's a lot that I've been talking about, but self-care is so vast. So I'll just say these few other things. Notice your feelings without judgment. We can be very critical in ourselves, and we can be very judgmental. Notice our feelings. Notice that I'm feeling upset right now. Notice I might be feeling angry right now. Notice the feelings. Don't judge it. Accept it. It's okay if we're feeling sad. It's okay if we're feeling angry if somebody's done something wrong and they've upset us. It's okay. But of course, don't act on that anger. It doesn't mean you're going to go out and you're going to punch the person that's made you angry. Feel the anger. Maybe talk to someone. Maybe write if you haven't got anyone to talk to. Write about how you're feeling and why you're angry, and then rip up that bit of paper and let it go and bin that bit of anger. But don't judge yourself because you're feeling angry or you're feeling sad. It's okay. It's your feelings. So stop criticising if you get upset and you cry about something. That's okay. I quite often cry if I'm watching a film, but I certainly wouldn't judge myself and turn around and say, oh God, I'm so stupid for crying. It's only a film. But many of us do. So just be aware of that inner critic and that judgment that you can have when you have experience your feelings. Slow down and be kind to yourself. Stop rushing around all over the place. Don't compare how you feel inside to how others appear on the outside. I'll say that again. Don't compare how you feel to how others appear on the outside. So in other words, you might feel lonely. You might feel sad. And then you look on Facebook and then you see people having a life, having lots of friends with them. They're smiling and they're going out and they're doing things. And a lot of that might be true. But some people, they might not actually be happy. They might portray to the outside world, they might have this mask on the Facebook and social media, that they're always going out and they're doing things and they've got lots of people in life and they're happy. But that doesn't mean that's actually how they're feeling. They could just be given that image. So don't compare yourself to what you see on the outside. Yeah, so you could see somebody and on the outside they might look perfectly happy. They might be laughing, they're joking, and you think, oh, why can't I be that? And that person might genuinely be happy, but that person could also be wearing a mask. They could be pretending to be happy. You don't actually know what that person is going through. So don't assume that you know what they're going through. And their outside persona might be different from their inside. So don't compare yourself to them. Another situation is in a job, a person might appear on the outside that they're really confident. And then your inside would be saying, oh God, why can't I be like them? They seem so confident and they seem to be able to get on and do the job well. They might actually lack confidence. You don't know. So don't compare yourself, how you feel inside, to how others are on the outside, because you don't know if that's true or not. They might be hurting. They might be feeling sad. They might lack confidence. You never ever know. Accept yourself. Accept yourself the way you are. And that's it. It's really simple. Accept yourself and stop criticising yourself. Remind yourself of your strengths. It's very easy to point out our weaknesses and what we're not good at. Remember on a daily basis to at least find one strength that you like about yourself. You might be persistent, you might be courageous, you might be tenacious, you might be kind, you might be caring, you might be thoughtful. You always have good points, your strengths. You might be good at jogging, you might be good at dancing, you might be good at listening to others. We've all got strengths. I've mentioned it before, but journaling is very important. And with journaling, it's not like a diary. It's not like I did such and such a day. Journaling is more about what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, what your aspirations are, what your goals are, as well as what you did for that day. What did I learn about myself today? Journaling involves so much more than just writing a diary. Raising self-awareness, continuously working on your self-growth. Raising self-awareness, so listening to your body, being aware of what that's like. How are you feeling? You know, be aware, is your heart kind of racing because you're nervous? Is your stomach, got butterflies because you're excited about something? Is your leg sore because you've been doing too much? Is your shoulders a bit uncomfortable because you've been at the computer for too long? Be more aware of what your body is saying to you. Have more self-awareness around your emotional health. Be more aware of what's happening when you're in a certain situation. How are you feeling? Be more aware of what your behaviours are. Are you smoking a lot more? And if you are, you can take that time out and say, why am I smoking more? Am I being more stressful? Am I bored? Have more awareness. Now, that's lots of examples of self-care. You could probably give me more, and by all means do so. Put in the comments for any self-care tips that you think might be helpful to others, and maybe put in the comments what you do for some of your self-care. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to doing more videos for you.